Good morning again. We all are smaller in numbers today, but isn't it great to be in God's house this morning? It really, really is. And we can still rejoice and praise Him even though there's not as many in the church this morning. So it's wonderful to be here. Now, many of you know me and many of you know what I do. But I was asked to come along and share a few slides, give you a wee update of the work that I'm involved in within Kids4School. So a lot of you already know what Kids4School is. There's many supporters within this church, which we're very, very thankful for. But I just wanted to come along and just give you a wee update of what's been happening. So to give you, any of you that don't know about Kids4School, let me give you a wee background information. Our director, the Reverend Tom Robinson, worked for the leprosy mission in Belfast for 13 years. And while he was out on a mission trip with the leprosy mission in Tanzania, he's seen a lot of kids running about and they weren't in school. And he asked the question, why are these kids not in school? And the simple answer to that was because they can't afford to go to school. Now, he came back from that mission trip. The Lord laid it heavy on his heart to do something about it. So he took early retirement from the leprosy mission. And in 2009, he started Kids4School. Let me tell you about it. We work in the country of Tanzania. It is not a very well-known African country, but it is one of the largest countries in East Africa. Just above it would be Kenya, below it would be Mozambique, so it gives you an idea roughly of where it is. It is the land of Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the highest freestanding mountain in the world. It is also the land of the Serengeti, where you have all the animals that would migrate every year across the Mara River into Kenya and back down again into Tanzania. So it's a very beautiful, very picturesque country, but it is also recognised as one of the poorest countries in the world. So this is a typical house. These are mud huts. They're made of mud, sticks, grass, just whatever they can gather together to build their homes with. Their houses are exactly the same with mud and sticks. Sometimes you will find them and they will have maybe a little bit of tin, corrugated tin on the roof, but a lot of them, they just can't afford that. So they build their houses with whatever they can find. Outside, they do all their cooking in one big open fire and a big cooking pot. There's no nice kitchens or living rooms or dining rooms or bedrooms inside these homes. It is one big bare shell. So you can see the inside of a house there. The yellow container is where the mother will have got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and she will have walked to her nearest water hole, because inside these mud huts there is no electricity and there is no running water. So if she wants her family to drink during the day, she has to walk, make that journey, maybe 2 or 3 miles, maybe 2 or 3 times a day to collect water from the water hole. Now, the little white sack that you'll see on the ground there, you would think maybe had animal feeding in it or something, but that is in fact a bed where a child will sleep on at night. They don't have the luxuries that we have. They have to sleep either directly onto the mud floor, onto one of these sacks, or if they have a little bit of money, they will have a dried animal skin, and that is what they will sleep on. So these are the people that we work with in Tanzania. So Dodoma is the capital city. That is where we work, but we fly into Dar es Salaam. To go from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma, it takes around 9 hours in a bus. So that gives you an estimation of the size of this country. It is a very large African country. A few statistics I want to share with you. Life expectancy for an average person in Tanzania is 56 years old. So if you make it to 56, you're doing very well in Tanzania. But a very sad and scary statistic is the under 5 mortality rate, because 1 in 5 children will not make it past their 5th birthday. 1 in 5. Now, when you think of Africa, the leading cause of death within children, you would think maybe would be AIDS or malnutrition. They're very high, but the leading cause is actually diarrhea. And that is because they are drinking dirty water. And it's giving them the diarrhea, and that is the leading cause of children. So the people that we work with are mainly farmers. They're subsistence farmers. So around their little mud huts, they will have a small piece of ground that they will grow their crops on. They will grow maize and vegetables, simple things that will keep their family alive. And they're depending on the rains to come for their crops to grow. When the rains come, their crops grow and they are just about able to feed their families. When the rains fail, which quite often happens, the crops die and they're left with no food for their families. There's no NHS. There's no backup systems. There's nowhere that they can go like we do here. If you're in a crisis, you can go somewhere and get a loan, or you can go and get help from somewhere, from the government. There's nothing like that in Tanzania. So the simple fact is, if you can't feed your family do not eat. Simple. So they're caught in a poverty trap. Now, what can we do? We need to break the power of poverty. How do we do it? Kids4School do it through education. Education is a great engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, that the child of a farm worker can become the president of a great nation. And that was said by Nelson Mandela. So as with our name, Kids4School, our aim is to get as many children off the streets and into education as we possibly can. And we do that through child sponsorship. So these are some of the children that in January got their brand new uniforms. They get a uniform, they get a pair of shoes, they get a few pens and pencils and some books. And that's all that they need to go to school. The government say schooling is free for all. Schooling over in Tanzania is free for all as long as you can afford to buy a school uniform, a pair of shoes and some pens and pencils. But the people that we work with, that is just beyond their financial ability, and they cannot afford these simple things. And this is why we step in. We get supporters here in Northern Ireland, across the UK, even over in America, who are willing to pay for these simple things for the children to go to school. We have also recognised that there is a link between education and nutrition, because what is the point of sending these children to school? When they're coming to school, they're coming out of their mud huts in the morning, they're not having any breakfast. They're coming to school, they don't bring a packed lunch with them because there's no food in the house. There's no such thing as school dinners over there. And then they go home at the end of the day and they may or may not get a meal, depending on their circumstances. So they're coming to school and they're not able to concentrate in class because they're hungry. They're not able to absorb the information that they're being taught because they're hungry. So we have introduced a feeding program at each of the schools where we work, where at break time, all of our children come through the grass, they lift a little empty cup and they get their meal for the day. Now inside that big cooking pot, it looks a little bit like porridge. It is ugali, it is maize meal in the pot, water added to it, lots of sugar added to it, so it's very, very sweet. It looks like porridge, but believe me, it does not taste like porridge at all. I have tasted it, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But the children love it. This is what they love to eat. It is their main staple over in Tanzania, and they just can't wait for break time so that they can come and get their meal. For some of these children, this is the only meal in the whole day that they will get. The only meal. They then find the shade of a nice tree. They sit under it and they have their meal. And they are so grateful, so grateful to receive this food. You'll even find them trying to scrape out the bowl to make sure that they get every last bit out of the bottom of it, because they don't know when they're going to get more food. Another aspect of our work within Kids4School is we provide equipment for the schools. These are government schools that we work in, so with regards to the teachers' salaries, that is paid by the government. But the upkeep and the maintenance and practical things that they need within the school is not covered by the government. And again, this is where we step in to help our children. So you'll see here children, 4 or 5 children sitting at a desk where there should be 2 children. This is because they don't have enough desks. Some of our children even have to sit on the floor to do their studies. So it's not very easy for them to do their maths or their handwriting or whatever sitting on the floor. So what are we doing about it? We have bought new desks for the children, brand new desks, bought them in Dodoma, but we have also been donated desks by primary schools here in Northern Ireland. So come to the end of the term, they're going to be getting brand new desks at the beginning of the next term. Instead of throwing those old desks away, they're giving them to us. We ship them out in a big container and distribute them out to the schools. So nothing at all is wasted. This picture was taken a few years ago. We took out 50 desks that were donated by Northern Ireland to this school. And Tanzanian people are very proud people, and they don't want you to just keep going out and giving and giving and giving them things, unless they can give you something in return to say thank you. Now remember, they're very financially poor people. We don't ask for any money at all. We do this because we love Jesus, but they like to give you something in return. And when we went to this school, we presented their desks to them, and they presented us with a goat. A live goat. Now, I don't want anyone to worry, we did not eat the goat. The goat was given to a local farmer who, as far as I know, is still looking after it. But this is all that they had to give us, and this is what they presented us with to say thank you for those 50 desks. We were travelling down in the Land Rover through the villages one day. The day before, we had been there delivering food parcels. And everyone knows our white Land Rover coming through with a big roof rack on it. And we seen this little old lady running out from her mud hut. And she had this chicken in her hand and she threw it in the window at us. And now I don't want you to think that this is a nice, cute chicken like what we would have here. These are wild chickens. So they're not used to being handled. They are covered in bugs and mites, and they don't smell great. So it wasn't pleasant for us, and it wasn't pleasant for the chicken that day. But again, this is all that she had to say thank you for the food that she had received the previous day. She had a chicken, and she gave it to us to say thank you. We do some construction work. We are a faith mission. So where we see the need, where it is identified, we will act on that need and go in faith that God will provide. We may not have the money at the time, but we have done many, many things over there where we have seen the need, and God has always provided for his people. So we do construction work. This is a toilet that the children have to use at the schools. Now, there is no running water at these toilets. It is just a big pit in the ground with a hole where you... Okay, I won't go any further, but you can use your imagination. That's what the toilets are like over there. So you can imagine the smell that comes with these toilets, the flies and the bacteria. I have to admit, I would rather go behind a bush than use these toilets. That's how bad they are. You can actually smell them when you drive into the school. You know exactly where the toilets are because you can smell them. But this is all that the children have to use, and it's not very nice at all. So what are we doing about it? We are building new toilet blocks for them. Bigger, better, properly ventilated toilets where they can put water down the hole, flush everything away. This is one of our toilet blocks where we provided at a church place called Kittlera. And this is another larger toilet block where we had over 1,000 children at the school and only 4 toilets for the children to use. So you can imagine the queue at break times would have been quite large. So we built a block of 12 for the girls and a block of 12 for the boys and a big septic tank in the middle. Something that I'm very much involved in is work and witness, mission teams, sending mission teams out to Tanzania to do what needs to be done. So we have people of all ages, all skill set, all denominations. You don't have to be Nazarene or Methodist or Presbyterian or any of the denominations. Anyone can go on our teams. Our main goal is to go over there to show and to tell the children of God and how he loves them. And whenever we are out there, we do whatever we can to make it a nicer environment for them. So we go into the schools We could see walls that are filthy, walls that have holes in them, floors that have holes in them. They're in very, very bad state of repair. So we do what we can to make it nicer for the children to learn in. Some of our more artistic members will do murals like this. We took the Angry Birds to Tanzania. They had never heard of the Angry Birds, and they just loved them. We also took the Minions to Tanzania, which again they had never heard of, and they loved them. But I am not very artistic. It is not one of my qualities at all. I can use a paintbrush, but the only thing that I had to offer for painting-wise were dots. But it was much better than what they had. So that was my contribution. But we just want to make it as nice as possible for the children to learn in. We do Bible clubs. One of our main aims to go there is to do Bible clubs. You may recognize the guy in this picture here. This is the Reverend Irene Wallace's son, Stephen. And he went out with us for a 2-week spell to Tanzania, and he was leading the Bible clubs over there. So it is our duty as Christians to take the gospel out to people who have never heard it before. And whenever we're out there on a team, we do these Bible clubs, similar to what we would do here. So we have scripture readings, we tell stories, we make crafts, we do songs, whatever we can do to engage these children and to tell them and show them about Jesus. I have showed this picture before a couple of months ago whenever I was preaching. I told you about the salvation bracelet that we do with the children, where we start at one end and we tell them about sin. We're all born with sin. And then the red beads represented the blood of Jesus. He died on the cross to take away our sin. And this is what we do with the children. We work our way along the colours of the beads. And by the end of it, they have heard the full story of salvation. Very, very simple terms, but they have been told the story. And we even had little Muslim children that were in the classroom that we were able to minister to, which was a fantastic opportunity for us. Whenever we go out to the schools, there is no barriers, there's no hesitation. The teachers step back and they give us full reign of the children at the school. All of the children, not just our sponsor children, all of the children, which in itself is fantastic. Because I know there's a lot of countries where you go into where they're opposed to Christianity. But in Tanzania, where we work, they allow us to just have free reign and do what we want, which is fantastic. Here we're working with some special needs children. We are using the parachute to tell the story of how Jesus was on the boat with his disciples. And the great storm arose. We were talking about this on Wednesday night, Gary. The great storm and how everyone was so afraid, and Jesus calmed the storm. Now, many of these children that we work with special needs are maybe blind, are partially sighted, or are affected by albinism, albino children. There's a lot of stigma and a lot of fear for our people with albinism in Tanzania, in a lot of African countries, but specifically in Tanzania, because people still believe that there's superstition around the bones of albino people. So you will find maybe children who someone has crept in during the night and cut off a finger or have cut off an arm to take that body part to the witch doctor so that they can grind it up and make potions from the powder. Now, have you ever heard anything as ridiculous in your life? But unfortunately, this is still happening in Tanzania, in the rural parts. So we have to protect these children. We have a number of albino children on our program, which stay at the dormitories during the week and then return home at the weekend. All of our children are special, but the special needs children are extra special. This is a football. This is what we found the boys playing with. Plastic bags wrapped around with more plastic bags. They improvise over there. They didn't have the real thing, so this is what they used. So we came home, we showed that picture out, and we were inundated with leather footballs. People just donating these leather footballs to us We deflated them, sent them out in the container and distributed them out to the schools. We like to make a fuss of these children when we're out because they're not like our kids here at all. These kids have nothing, literally nothing. So we take a lot of things out in our suitcase, we ship a lot of things out in our containers so that we can interact with the kids. We take clothes out that we can give to the children who are coming in rags. They're coming in clothes that have been handed down from child to child. They're ripped, they're threadbare, they're see-through, and so it's lovely to be able to give a little girl a new dress or to give a little boy a new football kit because they have nothing. They're so appreciative of everything that they are given. This little lady on the left, she came in on her mother's back. She was completely naked, didn't even have a nappy on. She was just wrapped on her mum's back, and that's how she came in. Now, the dress that she's got on there, that dress cost me 50p. 50p is nothing to us. The cardigan she's got on, my granny knit that cardigan, which I'm very proud of. But she came in with nothing, and she left with a complete outfit. The wee man on the right, he came in, he was clothed, but barely. And he left with an old top, a football top that one of my sons had grown out of. So nothing at all is ever wasted. We take everything over with us and we give it to our children over there. So as I said earlier, the people that we work with are subsistence farmers. This is what it would kind of look like around their mud hut. This is when their crops are growing. As I said also, the crops quite often fail. So we have introduced a Food for the Families program. Now, would you believe that we can feed a family of 5 for a whole month for £14? If only we could feed our families here for £14, I would be a rich woman. It would be great. But for £14, they get a full bag of maize, a small bag of rice and a small bag of sugar, and that will keep them going for the whole month. We have supporters here that pay that extra £14 to feed the whole family. Now, this is not what they get at the school during their meals. This is separate. So the whole family benefits from the Food for the Families. We collect the child from school, we take them to their home, and we present the home with their food parcel. I have been on food distribution in Tanzania, and it's a very humbling experience because you will have mothers, grandmothers coming at you. They will throw their arms around you. They'll be kissing you on the face. They will be thankful. They'll be thanking you so much for this food because many of them didn't know when they were going to get any more food. That is the poverty that we are talking about. We have had people come to us and say, thank you, this has come from God because we don't have any food in this house. And it is God's work that we are doing. He's using our hands to do it, but it's God's work that we are doing. So this is a rural road. Down this road you will have people walking, people on bicycles. You will have animals just dandering freely. Even on the main roads you will have animals walking across. There's no fences, no boundaries to keep animals in over there. They go where they can find a little bit of grazing. So quite often you will see a young boy with a big long stick and a herd of cows walking along the side of the road, and he'll be moving them from a little patch of grass to the next patch of grass and feeding the cows as the day goes on and so on. That water that they were walking through, the cows, is exactly the same place where a child would collect their drinking water from. These children are coming to the schools. There's no electricity, there's no water at the schools. So in order for them to drink, they have to collect water on the way to school. And they will collect it from whatever water source they can find, whether it be a small hole like this in the ground or a larger hole in the ground like this. I have seen them do it. They will climb down in, even if there's just a cup full of water in the bottom of that big hole, because to them, water is precious, no matter how dirty it is. This is the colour of the water. 80% of children dying in the developing world are dying from water-related diseases. Dirty water is what's killing our children. So what are we doing about it? We are building large concrete tanks. This is our director in the corner. and very, very thankful that we have such a great man to lead Kids4School. These large concrete water tanks were designed to collect and store rainwater. So whenever it rains in Tanzania, normally it would come down onto the roof at the school, it would all go off the roof, onto the ground, the sun would come up, evaporate, and the water's gone. So we have put guttering all the way around the roof. The pipe that you'll see just going in at the top right there, that is where the water is directed into the pipes, into the tank from the roof, and it collects and stores the rainwater. We have filled one of these tanks with rainwater. We've left it for 6 months and got the water tested, and there has been no bacteria at all in this water. To date, we have built over 60 of these big water tanks at all of the schools that we work in. We're doubling up. As the number of children get bigger in the schools, we're doubling up on these tanks to ensure that nobody has to collect their dirty water anymore coming to school. They can come to one of our tanks, they turn the tap, they get a clean, fresh drinking water to drink. Some of the children that bring their containers will also fill their containers before they go home so that they can drink the clean water whenever they go home as well. You can see the difference. What they were bringing with them, what they were collecting from their puddles, and then what they have got from our water tanks. We have been given, a big project of ours was, we were given 14 acres of ground by the locals in recognition for what we're doing over there. They said, it's yours, you can do whatever you want with it. So we decided to build a Christian academy. On this site, we're going to have, we have primary school, secondary school, we will have vocational schools and a church all on this big site. As you can see, the building work is continuing, we're well underway. This is the administration block. We also have 2 vocational training blocks built. Now in this picture you'll see old Singer treadle sewing machines. And most of these were actually donated by people here in Northern Ireland, which we shipped out. Vocational training is very important because once our children finish primary school, when they get to P7, everyone has to sit a national exam. You get one shot at it. If you pass it, you're allowed to go into secondary school. If you don't pass it, you're completely thrown out of the education system and can go no further in school. So that's you leaving school with only 7 years of education. Now, this is why we started vocational training. This is where we can bring children in who maybe cannot make it the academic route, but they can make it by learning a trade. They can go a different route and still earn money, get a job, and provide for their family. We are teaching sewing, we're doing welding, carpentry courses. As we expand, we hope to offer more courses for the vocational training, but these sewing machines are for our children who are learning to sew. It is a 1-year course where they come in, it is full board, so they come and they stay at our compound. They get taught how to sew properly, they get their qualifications and their certificates at the end of it that they can then take to get some work. We've had a number of classes go through our sewing training, and we have a very high percentage of girls coming out at the end of it and going on to either start their own business or to get employment afterwards. You can get maybe 2 or 3 of the girls that have come through the vocational training, and they will all group together, put money together to buy a sewing machine and work together and do work that way. So it is working for our children, and we're very, very privileged to be able to do that. These are our children here holding up, our young ladies, in the vocational training, and they're holding up, they're actually making school uniforms, because we have over 1,800 children on our program, and every year we need to give them a new uniform. So why not get these girls to make our school uniforms and pay them for doing it? So it's great. They're learning so much. Our latest project, though, is we've identified a lot of problems. Whenever the rains come, it's great because the crops grow and everything goes green. But it also creates problems because the rains will wash mud huts away. They will collapse the roof on the mud huts. And we decided that we would like to be involved in a housing project. So this is the type of house that we are replacing. Very run down, very in bad state of repair, but we are building new houses for our children over there, the children that are on our programme. These are very basic houses, 2 bedrooms and a room in the middle, so they're very basic, they're not furnished, but it is such a better house for them. We have to date had 17 of these houses built, which is great. And the families are so excited to get into these new houses. So we're taking them out of their mud huts that are dusty, that are dirty, that has no air, and we're putting them into new homes. And we hope to be able to continue that project as the finances permit. These are our special needs children. I mentioned them earlier. Very, very precious children to us. Whenever we went into the special needs dormitory for the very first time, this is what we met. Mattresses lying out on the ground, and we said, why are these mattresses on the ground and not on the beds? Well, it was because some of the children are incontinent. So they take the mattresses off the bed, they lay them in the sun to dry during the day, and then they put them on the mattresses, on the beds again at night time. So you can imagine there's a wee bit of a smell with these mattresses, and also when they're lying on the sand, little mites and bugs will bury up in and bite the children at night. So we quickly put wheels in motion. We got new mattresses, new mattress protectors for those that needed it, new mosquito nets, blankets, pillows. There were children that were sharing beds, little single beds, simply because there weren't enough beds for them. So we did what we needed to make their lives that little bit better. We were given a little bit of extra money. We were able to get some outside equipment for the children to play on. They have a double swing like this one. They have a roundabout. You don't see them very often now here, but they have a roundabout and they have a small slide to play with. We are making a difference. We started in 2009 with 65 children on our sponsorship programme. We now have over 1,800 children who are off the streets, into education, receiving a meal, receiving medical treatment when they need it, and everything that they need we are providing for them. We can send a child to school and give them a meal for £3.25 a month. £35 a year. That's all it takes to send a child to school. I have brought with me some literature. I've left it on the back table. Lift something on your way out. Read through it, pray about it. If it's something you feel you would like to be involved in, all the information is there, or you can speak to me about it. But lift something and take it with you. Why not make a difference in a child's life today? We are a charity, yes. There are many wonderful charities out there, and there's so much need all over the world. Our hearts are in Tanzania for the Tanzanian children. We can send 100% of all the money that we raise to Tanzania. And we can do that because of the likes of gift aid. We have grants that comes in, and that will pay for all of our outgoings here, which enables us to send 100% to where it's supposed to go. And that makes a big, big difference. I leave it with this. Jamie read it earlier for us. The king will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did it for me. Amen. Thank you.